And we take a look at a really lovely photo by Edison Boodoo Singh. It's Robin Boodoo poses in front of an Austin Healey Sprite car. And look at the big eyelashes and everything. Very, very nice photo there. And then we also have the Point Fortin Mayor signal the start of the 3-week Borrow Day program. We spoke about this earlier. I think it was last week, where one person was launching a Borrow Day celebration and somebody else launching a Borrow Day celebration. I think one thing we forget is that when you get into government, somehow, I mean, I don't know who came up with that plan, but they require you to be the government for everybody, whether you voted for them or not. So it can't, not everything have to be a PNM thing or a UNC thing. I'm kind of hoping that we move beyond that. But moving beyond the commercial break, we do have a great show for you. So stay tuned. Let me give you an idea of who is up next. It's the president of Tutor. He's the one you saw when I was walking in the room a short while ago. Crystal Ash will be here. Stay with us.
For over 50 years, we served communities across Trinidad. But growth isn't about standing still. It's about choosing what comes next. Introducing Passad's The Food King Grand Market Barapo, a new standard for the South. The Grand Market is where community meets quality. Our newly launched Via Bakery offers our fresh breads and pastries that are made daily. From the spices that flavor your meals to the moments that bring families together. And when it's time to slow down, our cafe offers a place to pause, connect, and enjoy the moment. From fresh meats prepared with care to aisles filled with the choices families trust and prices that put people first. Every day, families trust us with the moments that matter most, the meals they share, the traditions they keep, and the memories they create. And that's a responsibility we carry with pride. Bigger, fresher, thoughtfully built. The Grand Market Barapo, because at the heart of everything we do, quality and value, that's our way.
I've always wanted to be a mom. Always wanted to plan when it was going to happen.
What's wrong?
I'm pregnant. I haven't told Andrew yet.
You're not thinking about getting back together with him.
If you need me, I'm just a phone call away, okay?
Doesn't it bother you not having a plan?
Life's got a way of showing you what your next move's gonna be.
Season 2 of Sullivan's Crossing premieres May 13th at 8 p.m. Only on CNC3.
Some of us like to test limits, but there won't always be second chances. Obey the speed limits. Maybe you don't value your life, but others value theirs. A message from the TTPS.
Get the story first. Want to know what's happening in news, sports, or crime? Get the CNC3 app. As the story breaks, CNC3 is there giving you the story first on your mobile device. Be connected to the most trusted and reliable news source, CNC3. Access your world with just a tap. The CNC3 app. Download it today.
Just as I said before the break, that the second day of school is really the day when everybody shows up. But we do want to talk about the first day of school and the last term of this school year. And we're also going to try to talk about what the last year in education has been like under a new minister and under a new president of Tutor. We are joined by Crystal Ash, who will brace us with all of this information. So good morning and thanks for being here.
Morning, Kijan, and thank you very much for having me. Morning to everybody in the studio and your viewership and so on.
Let's do a quick recap of yesterday. The third term is never really as exciting as that first day back in school in September. But what was your understanding of the turnout of teachers and principals?
Students? Yes, not a problem. Tutor would have reached out to the district field officers. We have in all districts. We have 8 districts in all Trinidad and Tobago. And the information coming to us is basically all schools would have been reopened. We had some issues with respect to Carpichaima West. At the end of last term, there was a fire in that school. The supervision yesterday, along with Tutor, the second vice president, Mr. Nigel Figaro, and IR officers visited the school just to ensure that everything is in place and so on. There was a very low turnout at the school in terms of the student population. Teachers were there, but the children didn't come because I guess parents were not certain as to if they would have been in school. That's Carpichaima West. Then you had Carapo, RC. There were some bees that were removed the day before, and there were some stragglers. So minor hiccup there with that. I would like to take this opportunity to say condolences to the family of Angelica Jogi at this point in time. That is a very sad situation. And when I think about it right now, my paw is raising because it is not something that any parent should have to experience. Yeah. And we say condolences to them and the school and the principal.
And kids at a young age having to understand that concept of
that is stressful. And you see right now, well, with the school, they would have to get social services involved. Student support services would go to the schools and so on. And then I always talk about it, and the minister and everybody is get vexed on occasion, but the employee assistance program is still not running.
And
right?
it's still being required to pay yourself.
The nation is being misinformed. The nation is being told that it is up and running, and that is not true. When members or anybody of the attached teaching service, you try to access it, they say, listen, of course, Mr. Ash, you can access it, but you have to pay your money out of your pocket, $450
per session.
Per session. And if it's, let's say, you and your spouse going there, that's $900.
Are you still limited, if you have to pay for it yourself, are you still limited to 5 per year?
Yeah, the certain amount, yeah. No, if you pay, you can pay. No.
Oh, so they're like, take as much as you want.
Of course.
You just pay for it.
And you see, what was alluded to is that maybe it's quite possible that people would have gone over, but that is not true. You have persons who know going into the second session, and they're basically just calling to confirm the appointment. And when they call to confirm, they say, yes, we have you booked for so-and-so date. However, we have no financial commitment in terms of the Ministry of Education at this point in time. So you will be required to make the payment. And if you want to come, you can come, but you have to pay it.
I have a cousin who's in teaching, and he comes home stressed. And I understand the pains that teachers are going through
mental
every day.
fatigue. It is stressful. And when I hear people talk about, there was some articles, and Facebook, you can't help but read, right, sometimes. So people talk about negative things. But I want to ask the population and everybody, the wider community, the world and so on and thing, if you didn't pass your teacher at some point in time, if it is that you were self-taught, because everybody would have been taught by a teacher, even if people are homeschooled, you're taught by somebody. That is the reality.
Have you read some of the comments on Facebook? I'm not sure they pass through teachers.
Well, some of them.
All their teachers would be very disappointed.
Because some of them, it would seem as if the education system might have failed them to some extent because the manner in which they would write and so on. But I would think that they would look at the larger picture, because for the duration of the day, from if it's a primary school we're dealing with, from 8:30 to 3 o'clock, you have a teacher, a principal there. They're basically the parents.
And they're expected
and local parentes. The law acknowledges them as the parents of the child. So if something were to happen, when a parent drops his or her child to a school, you expect that child is well taken care of. So by the time you come to pick them up in the evening, you're not expecting to hear anything untoward or anything like that. And you have that level of faith. And our educators go and they do it every day. Every day they do it. Without fear or favor. Coming in, I hear they talk about the traffic and thing. Traffic yesterday would have been terrible. I am the back road king. I go through all the back road and thing because you had to try to do that to get away.
I think of you talk about parenting when you think of, remember when there were like storms a couple years ago, and we had to cancel school at the last minute because our storm, like an orange level alert, and parents, what am I going to do with my child?
Your child. That is your responsibility. Now, I understand people have work commitments and so on. Don't get me wrong, I understand totally. But at the end of the day, you are the one who made the decision to be a parent. That responsibility comes with that. Spider-Man, uncle tell him what? Great strength comes great responsibility. That's so.
But I do want to talk about you did touch on the financial situation. The back pay is still an issue. The increase in salary,
no,
yes.
let me just give you a little information with respect to that. So the salary is not really 100% yet. Our Tobago brothers and sisters have not received anything at all. The Division of Education over there say that this month end. So we're looking to see, and we're holding our breath and hoping for the best. And if it doesn't, well, we will have to do what we have to do. So that's Tobago. No money for all the educators over there in terms of their new salary in March. The third scheduled persons who are curriculum personnel, persons from DERE, student support services, and you have the school supervisors. They have not received anything, no increase in terms of the 5% and so on. Just the normal teachers and principals, they would have received it in March. And back pay, well, I don't know if that's in the wind because we're not hearing anything. We would have reached out to the Minister of Finance, we reached out to the Ministry of Education. We have a meeting with the Ministry of Education this Thursday. So that is one of the agenda items. What is the situation with it? Can you give us some clarity in terms of a date, a timeline? Because people need to budget and you have your financial commitments and you want to be able to make an informed decision. But in the absence of information, how do you do that?
At this point, you're looking at it like a long-term savings plan that maybe, hopefully.
No, but you can't tell me that. I would have worked for that. I would have negotiated for that. I would have signed for that. Therefore, I expect it.
Yeah. But let's talk about the communication that you have had with the minister. You would have seen my opening there, where I would have raised issues of the responses are either not coming at all, or they're inadequate when they do come, and it's for 10 years you didn't. How do you find your relationship with the Minister of Education?
Well, forgive me, I will my throat. This minister, he says that he wants to communicate with all stakeholders. He said that he says that in any public domain. However, I've met him once in terms of a formal meeting, just briefly. He would have spoken for, let's say we're in a meeting for an hour, but he would have spoken for almost 60 minutes. I would have gotten an opportunity about 2 minutes, and within the 2 minutes, he interjected as well. So you don't get that much time to talk because he likes to talk and so on.
He doesn't strike me as a talker, but all right, good to know.
Well, when you meet him in person, yeah, he's talk plenty. But we would want him to be a little more vocal because there are issues that are directly related to educators, and you are the line minister, you are the minister. One of the things he told me at one point in time when we were treating with his salary issue is that he doesn't really get involved in things like that with respect to salary. That's the Minister of Finance portfolio. Right. I say, but sir, it directly impacts on your ministry. So how could you say that?
And is there a situation where you find that you're not able to get onto the Minister of Finance as well?
Thanks a million.
Yes, yeah. Take a minute.
Just a minute.
Yeah, so we understand that there's a situation where, yes, the minister does not necessarily always have the money, and the money has to come from the Ministry of Finance. But how do we broach that? As the union leader, how do you approach them? Do you have access? Are they accessible by WhatsApp? You can pick up the phone and call them, or is this call your secretary to get onto them?
Me and that big in a partner. Me and that big at all. No. The minister communicates with me via his secretary, so his secretary would call my cellular device and say, hold, please, the Minister of Education would like to speak to you. And I talk to him. I don't have the minister's number. The minister never offered me his number. I just telling you. I mean, them fellas big, I a small fry. Right? That's how I look at it. But in terms of simplicity, I think your minister should be accessible. In terms of we are the recognized majority union for educators in Trinidad and Tobago, right? If, in case you're not aware, or the viewership may not be aware, we are the second largest union in Trinidad and Tobago. That is reality. It's only PSA larger than us. That is a fact. We have persons in terms of education alone. They have persons in terms of all different types of jobs and so on, right? So if we are recognized as that body to negotiate on behalf of educators, I would think that every little thing that you're doing, you would take us into account. You would ask for opinion. Because I'm going to give an example. The Minister of Finance, we went to his office, we physically delivered letters when we found that the emails weren't really working. Right. We said, all right, we deliver it. Then we got something in the public space stating that he will be back when it will come in March and so on, the salary and the thing. He never wrote back to us. He never said anything. He never communicated to Twitter, no WhatsApp, no call or anything like that. I am simply saying that if better communication will solve all of that, because tutor would have been able to tell you, sir, the time you identified in terms of the end of the first quarter, March, to really to put things in place, is a lot of calculations for teachers. You're talking about just over 14,000 teachers. You have to do individual calculation because everybody will not be at the same incremental point. So it is a tedious task, and we are aware of that, and tutor is very well aware of that. But had we had a little bit of communication, we would have been able to tell you that. So you're not going to go on any public space and say, March month end, and then March month end come and go on, and nothing.
And then you realize that there's that level of, I'm seeing it in the whole CARICOM sphere, where there's no diplomacy behind closed doors anymore. Everything is on social media, and it's out in the open. We're seeing how the sausage is made, and it's not great. You did touch on, and you said it, well, we'll do what we have to do.
Yes.
I saw you marching on Friday with the nurses.
Solidarity to TTNLA, man.
Right.
Yes.
Congrats on being one of the last unions in the country to actually go on march. But are we at that point? Do you think you will get to that point? The last time you had a small protest, it was on, there was no school that day, so you seem to want to raise concerns but not disrupt
exactly, because I want the national community and the international community to know as well too. Tutor is not about disrupting the system, but we are about letting our voices be heard. Because if we're trying to communicate with you and for whatever reason it is not getting out there, we have to do what we have to do, right? But
if it is a situation where, now by the very nature of protest requires disruption, or else it's just a statement. Now I understand that, but do you think that you are getting your message heard when you do this?
Yes, we are. We are getting it heard. If it is that we will, because I believe that's where your question is leading, if we would possibly reach to the point where we have to do mass protests, and if it comes to that, Tutor is not afraid. Tutor is not afraid. We will do what we have to do. But we want to exhaust all possibilities first. We want to give you every opportunity to find a solution. So we're trying to communicate. We're writing. We're talking. We're trying our best. And if it is that, well, that doesn't work, well, then we have to call on our membership to do what we have to do. I want our membership to know at this point in time, it is not to say that Tutor is afraid of protesting, nothing of the kind. But we have to be logical and strategic in what we're doing and how we approach things. All right. Before, you said some things in your introduction this morning, and we talk about the political landscape. When I was a principal, I would encourage my children to look at the news because, they're being informed and so on. After a while, I stopped telling them look at news, because when you look at the manner in which politicians operate in the parliament as if it's their own private playground, unfortunately.
They worse than the playground children sometimes.
You're telling children they have to be disciplined, you have to respect authority and so on and thing. But they are not doing that. And if a child in a school were to do some of the things that they are doing, or utter some of the statements that they are uttering, you're going to get suspended, you're going to they're going to call the social worker, your parents have to come to school and all kind of thing. Oh gosh, let's set the right example. That's all.
You can imagine if I stood up in class and I said, I'll cough it down.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
I'm literally quoting our Prime Minister there when I say that, when you think about it.
Exactly.
I do want to touch on I think it's the OBAs, the Office
BOAs, yes, I want to tell you about that. The Business Operations
Assistants. Yeah. There would have been a lot of people who lost jobs, about 400, I think was the number that we last had,
close to 5,
where their contracts were simply not renewed. And they haven't been getting the same sort of coverage as CPEP or none of them. So I'm giving you that opportunity now to advocate on their behalf or explain to the public what is happening with these 500 workers.
I appreciate that. And every time I'm here and every other program, I always advocate for them. Now, we have some BOAs that are members of Tutor, right? But not many of them. And the business operations assistants would normally assist the principal in the execution of his or her duties. There are a lot of paperwork. When I became a principal, you hardly had email and things. They didn't have any email, as a matter of fact. You had to go and physically receive documents and things. Now, for the day, 10, 12 emails coming your way, and you have to respond to them. You have to do this Excel sheet and send it over and things. Now, if the principal has to manage a plant in terms of walking around to ensure that the children are being taught, if a teacher or teachers are absent, many of the times the principals actually take the classes.
Right.
So then you can't be teaching a class, trying to make sure that the children are safe and so on, and at the same time sending information for the ministry. So therefore, the personnel required for that will be the business operations assistants. So as you correctly said, contracts ended. Many of them around November, because they're taking most of them around the same time. And to date, we have no word. We understand that the minister said something about a cabinet note. So how long does this cabinet note take?
No, cabinet meets once a week, and
so I hope
they reach it.
But I don't know what kind of note it is and how detailed this note is that it would take. But at the same time, while you're doing that, Kishan, these adults are home unemployed.
Yeah.
They have financial commitments. They cannot pay their bills. Many of them have had, I heard about one having a vehicle repossessed and so on and think, oh gosh, it's human beings. And many of them would have been employed for quite a number of years. You're talking about 5 to even as much as 20 years.
And then not getting the gratuity at the end of the contract.
So they have, when you finish your 3-year contract, you have the lump sum gratuity ticket. And they have to fight for that. The day we went for the silent protest, I met one outside. She actually was there looking for 2019 money, and that is the reality. So if you ain't giving the people their money, how will they live? The politicians, when they work, don't they get their money? Oh God, let us be fair to everybody now. Let us be fair to the little man and the common man. One of these days, somebody's going to trip off in this country. Somebody going to trip off. I'm hoping and praying that it doesn't happen. Hoping and praying it doesn't happen. But oh gosh, politicians, just hear me. Minister of Education, see if you could intervene in this situation, please, because we've been talking about the business operations assistance. Once when I brought it up with a senior member of the Ministry of Education, he basically boofed me. He told me, what are you doing talking about that? How is that tutor business? Just so the man started. I said, well, sir, those persons are people that we represent. We have quite a few of them who are members of tutor. And remember, anybody in the education field, that is tutor's responsibility.
And we spoke about that earlier as well, that representation is not just for the people who like you, it's representation is for everybody who relies on you. Crystal Ash, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it. We managed to cover quite a lot in this short space of time. I'm sure you forget something. As soon as you walk out that door, you remember something else. But we're going to have a lot more in the show to discuss. Gary Griffith actually joins us after the break. Stay with us.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order.
Things don't always go as expected. Be ready with Trinry for auto, home, business and group life. Call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Huge insurance premium. Pay your premiums bit by bit with FlexiPay from Trinry. For more manageable auto, home and commercial insurance payments, call us at 800-TRIN or visit trinry.com today. Trinry, premier insurance coverage for less.
Period nights don't have to look like this. Move less, wake up to change. So change for a real night's sleep with Always Overnight. Its 3 times protection system absorbs, locks the fluid, and keeps it away from your skin. For protected nights without leaks. Always.
In the ever-changing media landscape, we at Guardian Media strive always to put you, our viewers and readers, first.
We strive to uphold the time-honored tenets of responsible journalism.
For us, accuracy is key.
And in our reporting, we strive not only to be first, but fair,
impartial,
and to uphold journalistic integrity.
Above all, we are accountable to you, and we must respect the views of our audience. That is our solemn contract with you.
Keen attention to detail.
Rigorous verification of facts. Use of credible sources and sound editorial judgment.
Keep track of our editorial policies and guidelines, including our corrections policy, by logging on to www.guardian.co.tt for more.
Make sure you have yourself a great invest week by viewing The Bourse Report every Monday morning at 6:15 a.m. during CNC3's The Morning Brew. You'll get sound financial advice, whether you're a new or experienced investor, when you view The Bourse Report. CNC3, covering your world.
Some of us like to test limits, but there won't always be second chances. Obey the speed limits. Maybe you don't value your life, but others value theirs. A message from the TTPS.
Sportsmanship is when an athlete walks off the court and you can't tell if he won or lost because he carries himself with pride either way. This quote is an embodiment of sport, and for me, sport is an embodiment of life. We are where you are.
This is more than just music. This is where you find the best of TNT. This is more than just a vibe. This is where Bollywood gets a twist. This is more than just energy. This is Bhangra and indie pop too. This is the mix. This is the life. Lock on or log on now. Sangeet 106.1 FM. This is authentic East Indian radio. This is us.
Volleyball filmmakers, producers, content creators, influencers, and recording artists. If you're looking to rent a versatile studio space with green screen, video wall, cyclorama, and more, look no further. GM Labs is here to make your dreams a reality. Located in the heart of Port of Spain on St. Vincent Street, GM Labs is your one-stop shop for all your creative needs with over 2,800 square feet to work with. Take your creative concept to the final product at GM Labs. Give us a call or WhatsApp or message us on our Instagram and Facebook pages at GM Labs TT.
Alejandro, you're still alive.
Mr. Alejandro! Mrs. Lucia! Mrs. Lucia, come quick, Mr.
Alejandro! My goodness! You're so... Sophia!
Don't miss the gripping drama Cabo. Sundays at 8 p.m. only on CNC3.
Name something that people stick their noses into.
The apple bucket, like bobbing for apples.
Where did that answer come from? In the apple bucket! Okay.
All right, welcome back at just about 6:30. Is that 8 or 6? 6:38 here in Trinidad and Tobago. I know I did promise you Gary Griffith, a former National Security Minister, former Commissioner of Police. He is on the line. We're just waiting to get him set up. But until we do and we get these kinks worked out, let's talk to you about how you can reach us here at TMB. You know the email, tmb@cnc3.co.tt. That's our email address for if you want to book any guests, or if you want to show up on the show. That's how you reach us. That's the email that we check. You can reach us on social media as well. CNC3 News, CNC3 Television on Facebook, CNC3 TV on X and Twitter. Remember, we also have a YouTube page where we do our live shows. TMB is streaming live on YouTube now. A lot of you are watching it there. That one is CNC3 Television Prime. We have a TikTok page, and you can check us out there as well. There are a few fake ones, so make sure you get the right one when you're looking. You can also check us out on the app. It's CNC3's mobile app, and this is how you also get anything else that you need in terms of our streaming, our breaking news and updates, and the website guardian.co.tt. This is something I am very proud of because I worked very hard on it to populate it and make sure that throughout the day all of the top stories are there for you. So guardian.co.tt. Let's do something to think about. Let us sacrifice our today so that our children can have a better tomorrow. Sacrifice our day so that our children can have a better tomorrow. Let's take a break. Then we're going to get Gary Griffith on the show for you.
mealtime more of a chore than a cherished time? Does a lack of appetite keep your family, young and old, from getting the nourishment they need? Introducing Apetamin, the gentle, effective appetite stimulant designed for every age. Apetamin helps spark the natural desire to eat, turning hesitant nibbles into satisfying meals. Watch as food becomes exciting again, fueling growth, energy, and shared moments around the table. Give your body the gift of a joyful appetite. Find Apetamin in pharmacies nationwide.
My own personal motto is to show citizens of this country that our stories can be told in a professional and international standard. I want to show them that the journalism they consume on cable TV can also exist here. Each day, that's my focus, that's my drive, to show the stories of our communities, of our people, matter just as much as anywhere else in the world. That's why we are where you are.
Don't miss the gripping drama Cabo. Sundays at 8 p.m. only on CNC3.
This season, Ask the Doctor is at a new time. It's your weekly prescription for trusted medical advice. In the Doctor's Capsule, Dr. Tilak Singh breaks down big health topics clearly and simply. Get a dose of smiles in the Kiddies Capsule as our youngest experts share health tips with heart. Explore the science behind the headlines in Medical Minds, featuring real doctors, real insight, and your questions matter. Join the open forum live and get answers straight from the source. Ask the Doctor, every Thursday at 8 p.m. only on CNC3.
This is more than just music. This is where you find the best of TNT. This is more than just a vibe. This is where Bollywood gets a twist. This is more than just energy. This is Bhangra and indie pop too. This is the mix. This is the life. Lock on or log on now. Sangeet 106.1 FM. This is authentic East Indian radio. This is us.
Some of us like to test limits, but there won't always be second chances. Obey the speed limits. Maybe you don't value your life, but others value theirs. A message from the TTPS.
Get the story first. Want to know what's happening in news, sports, or crime? Get the CNC3 app. As the story breaks, CNC3 is there giving you the story first on your mobile device. Be connected to the most trusted and reliable news source, CNC3. Access your world with just a tap. The CNC3 app. Download it today.
Our connection is reliable, credible, and authentic. Thank you for trusting me to bring you the news. It's a privilege to be in your homes and hearts. With every story and every newscast, CNC3 is keeping you informed and inspired. When it comes to news, we are where you are.
Welcome back. Kinks have been worked out, and let's get straight into our interview with Gary Griffith. Mr. Griffith, good morning.
Hi, good morning.
So let's get straight into it. 100 murders. We've just crossed that barrier, maybe more by this morning. We're waiting for the official figures. We are around the same, about 10 fewer than last year when we were also in a state of emergency. Your thoughts on this issue right now?
Well, and if there's just one murder, persons will criticize the government, the state, and rightly so. You don't even want one. But I could go back to, just about 2000 when the UNC government had less than 100 murders and the Prime Minister was criticized at the time. In this situation, we have to look at it from the perspective that without that state of emergency, we would very well have gone right back to 600 murders per annum that we would have seen in 2023, 2024.
But how do you figure that?
2025 and 2026, we've been seeing roughly, you're going at about 360 murders per annum. And when you break that down, a difference of non-SOE, that's about 240 less murders per annum. So even though people are criticizing the SOE, I think because of the state of emergency that has been proclaimed, we have 240 less murders. That you're looking at 20 less murders every month. That is 2 less murders every 3 days because of the state of emergency. So if we did not have the state of emergency, we could have seen 500 more people being killed.
But when you were Commissioner of Police and there was a state of emergency during COVID, and people said the same thing, that murders were down because of state of emergency, because of COVID, you were very adamant that was not the case.
Big difference, because the state of emergency during COVID was a health regulation. It did not. You see, the reason why a state of emergency helps reduce crime is when you have a state of emergency that allows you to incarcerate individuals without evidence. It means that when it is the law enforcement agencies do not have the ability for proper intelligence gathering to have evidence, you incarcerate all the shooters, all the gang leaders, all the criminals, all the assassins, all the drug lords. You incarcerate them indefinitely, and then you have to pay them for keeping them in. That is during COVID, we did not have a state of emergency to do that. During COVID, we were able to have proper type of policing. That caused, it was the lowest number of murders in any given year. That was August 2020 to August 2021. So that was a different type of a state. When you have a state of emergency like what we have now, it gives the state the opportunity to, if you want to call it cheating, you're able to lock up all the bad boys because you don't have enough evidence and you can just lock them up indefinitely. Now, the point being is that the reason why I'm saying that this is of value is because of the failure of the state to come up with one new policy. In the last year, we have not seen one new piece of technology, unit, system, program, nothing at all. And in the absence of that, the Prime Minister was left with no choice. It is hoped that those in authority need to understand that. You're hearing the Minister of Homeland Security speaking about what went wrong for the last 10 years. It doesn't matter. 1 year has passed, 20% of your term in office, and you need to come up with different programs. And it is not being done. So in the absence of that, the Commissioner of Police has to intervene, the State of Emergency Commissioner of Police, because you're not seeing anything. I mean, the last year of the People's Partnership, we were able to put out the National Operations Center, the Rapid Response Unit, the Highway Patrol, the National Security Special Operation Group, Diamond Vessels, the Training Academy. So when the country sees these things, it allows, apart from the perception and fear of crime to go down, it puts a deterrent on the criminal elements. In the last year, we have seen similar to what has happened in the majority of the period under the PNM. No policies, no programs, no systems, no units, no technology, and in the absence of that, you're forced to call it a state of emergency.
Well, what we're also having now is you're having these detention orders being meted out. So one day would be 15, 20, 23 in the latest count. These are all people, and they seem to have, when you read the legal notice as to why they're being detained, they have all of this information. So-and-so is a shooter for the X gang, so-and-so is a financier of the Y gang. If this information is able to be put into a preventative detention order, why is that not able to translate into something to go before the courts?
Because there's a difference with intelligence and evidence. Intelligence would allow the law enforcement officials to say we have enough intelligence to believe that this person is involved in criminal activity. It is not good enough to go to the court for that intelligence to be used as evidence to have them charged. So because they don't have, and that is what the SOE is. So when people try to compare SOE during COVID to SOE now, it shows their ignorance in understanding how a SOE works to reduce crime. My personal view has always been a state of emergency should not be used as a crime-fighting tool. But in this situation, the chair of the National Security Council, she's left with no choice. Because as I said, those in authority, they are not coming up with anything. There's nothing. Or there's a 3-point plan in operations, roadblock, and then probably the next day you might have a roadblock, and then a roadblock. That is it. where there are things that could be done. The National Operations Center, the Special Operation Response Team, GPS tracking on vehicles, a rapid response, social media monitoring unit, gender-based violence unit, body cameras, 1,000 body cameras. 5 years later, you can't implement one. So the police marine branch, we could go on and on. If the public sees that, it will lift the public, it will reduce the public perception and fear of crime, because that's something totally different from crime statistics. Boasting about crime being reduced, and right now the crime is still the #1 concern. It means something has gone wrong. 5 years ago, crime was the #4 concern behind health, education, and the economy, without a state of emergency that allowed the police to incarcerate persons indefinitely. So that is why it is the SOE is being used, because there's not enough evidence, and it again shows the importance of that National Operations Center to be able to get all the intelligence amalgamated into one place, to have enough to turn that intelligence into evidence. Failure to do that, you're forced to go to a state of emergency to allow with the authority now to incarcerate indefinitely.
So your criticism, not necessarily of the government, you're saying that the government has no choice because of the current Commissioner of Police, who has the support of the government, though. You realize the
not
cycle.
necessarily Commissioner of Police alone. The Minister of National Security, or the Minister of Homeland Security, sorry, he also has the ability. But what he has turned to now, he has to Christopher the thing by many times when persons in authority do not have the capability to come up with anti-crime fighting strategies, they turn to blaming parents, they turn to blaming teachers, blaming society, asking to pray to God, because you don't have the capability to come up with, let me come up with technology, unit systems, programs. This commissioner has attacked me for funds that I spent on technology. That technology put an end to kidnapping, it put an end to home invasion, it put an end to extortion. That technology was able to allow us to go into the dark web and to be able to get information to stop hits from taking place, to solve crime. And we were able to do that without having to ask the government for a cent, by doing in line with what is happening right now with the nurses, where there's this accusation about overtime. We found over $100 million per annum in overtime corruption, and we utilized those funds to come up with over 100 different unit systems, technology that was able to peg back the criminal elements. If that is done, there's no need for a state of emergency. But right now, in the last year, you have to name one new unit, system, program, technology, nothing. And now the goodly minister is now turning to blaming, to saying that it begins with parents, it begins with home. Those are the lines used by persons in authority who just do not know how to be able to be strategic, tactical, and be able to come up with policies.
I would argue that the parents do have a role to play. I would argue against punishing them as my only course of action, because this thing about whether or not we going to punish the parents for the child's behavior, I think there are other ways of doing this. But Mr. Griffith, since you're here, I raised earlier in the show that I don't always get the answers and explanations that I need for certain things. What is your understanding? I don't know if you've seen it, but our front page today talks about the terrorist blacklist and the organizations, naming people like Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. Is this something that should be done in national security? Is this par for the course, or are we looking at something brand new in terms of national security?
No, I mean, well done to the Attorney General and the National Security Council. This is a bold move, and it is mandatory. I had the exact situation as Minister of National Security in 2014 under when ISIS came about, and President Barack Obama pushed that under that United Nations Charter resolution, and it was to ensure that we deal with terrorism and financial intelligence. I am shocked that there are organizations, well, I should not say I'm shocked. There would be certain organizations that would be upset about what is being done. When I was Minister, there was over 100 governments that were involved in that UN resolution to deal with ISIS. It's a global terrorist threat, and the global terrorist threat, it allows that the different governments must be able to fight back against terrorism. Again, it was mind-boggling that the leader of the opposition at the time in 2014 had a problem with this, because he said foolishly that this is going to target, it will cause Trinidad and Tobago to be targeted. You can't bury your head in the sand. You want to be able to stop terrorism, but you do not want to be part of the cause to prevent terrorism. So let me tell you what happens quickly. This is not done, these terrorist groups, it happened with myself as minister with ISIS, it's happening now with these 3 other terrorist organizations. They fund hundreds of millions of dollars siphoned into different accounts in different arms that support them in different countries. These organizations then use these funds to be able to train individuals, and then after try to get them to go across into the Middle East to become what is known as FTFs, foreign terrorist fighters. They then bring them back into Trinidad and Tobago or whichever country to be able to spread that degree of terrorism.
We do remember that 2017,
which is to support this resolution.
We do remember that back in 2017 when Trinidad and Tobago was the hub of the most ISIS fighters from the Western Hemisphere. But let me ask you a question. You know the old saying, one man's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. Who determines and whose guidance do we follow to determine which organization is a terrorist and which organization is a freedom fighter?
Well, again, through that, what I spoke about, through terrorism and financial intelligence, we have the FIU and so forth. When you see funds being siphoned from terrorist organizations, such as the three mentioned in the front page of today's Guardian, and it's being siphoned into certain organizations throughout the world, they're not going to siphon the funds into those organizations to combat terrorism. They are pushing those funds into organizations throughout the world to be able to spread terrorism. And that is why we have to be very careful. That is why the importance of the FIU working with other financial intelligence agencies to know that Hezbollah, ISIS, or whoever, they are now putting funds into an organization or an individual, and that person now will send young persons, they will send them through Caracas, then they'll fly them across to Turkey and then send them into the Middle East, and then 2 years later they'll say they want to come back home, and then when they come back home, they have now been properly trained to spread terrorism. So I am not here to make friends at all. As minister, I was very blunt and supportive of that UN resolution. I was shocked that the leader of the opposition at the time had a problem with me pushing that resolution, and in this situation, Trinidad and Tobago is left with no choice whatsoever but to support such a resolution. Any terrorist organization that pumps funds into any organization into Trinidad and Tobago is doing that specifically to assist that organization to spread terrorism in our country, which we must prevent.
Gary Griffith, thank you very much for your time and for that explanation of how this whole situation works. We always, like I said, a little more information is always great. So Gary Griffith, thank you for your time as always. It's just about 6:57, approaching 6:58, and the news comes up next.
Can you do this?
Visit Tire Clinic Marketing, New Truck and OTR Tire Service Center at number 30 and 32 Montrose Main Road, Chaguanas. Call today at 665-8973 or 672-3419. Alignment services available. Tire Clinic Marketing, Truck and OTR Service Center. A tire for every need.
Struggling with blood sugar swings, high blood pressure, or stiff joints? Take control with Aja Nutrition's powerful wellness trio. Berberine Plus supports healthy blood sugar. Blood pressure support helps keep your pressure in check. And Joint Aid keeps your joints moving so you can stay active every day. Don't wait. Choose Aja Nutrition for trusted, effective solutions. Available at Pennywise and leading pharmacies nationwide. Feel better, move better, live better with Aja Nutrition.
For me, people matter most. It's the same if you hail from Moruga, where I'm from, Mount Irvin, Scarborough, or Port of Spain. As a journalist, I'm focused on building that connection between Trinidad, the region, and the world. Most importantly, I want always to use my voice as a powerful weapon to break down barriers wherever they exist. This is why we are where you are.
Good morning, I'm Doris Polo with headline news on CNC3 and the TBC Radio Network. An autopsy has found that 7-year-old Angelica Jogi died from traumatic injuries after a jet ski collision off Pigeon Point in Tobago. Police confirmed the findings on Monday following a post-mortem at the Scarborough General Hospital. Angelica was among 4 relatives struck by a jet ski while bathing on Wednesday. Her father, Arnold Jogi, remains hospitalized with injuries to his back and chest. As he continues to grieve, Jogi has thanked the public for its outpouring of support, while calling for urgent changes to jet ski operations across the country.
I wouldn't say put a ban to jet ski, but let me put a designated area for the jet skis. Let us put a designated area for it. Who like the jet skis and they want to use the jet ski, go to that area. Let me get rid of it from all bathing areas, popular bathing areas.
Despite the Division of Environment noting on Saturday that jet skis are banned from the Pigeon Point Heritage Park, a German tourist told CNC3 News she saw 2 jet skis speeding across the water while bathing that same day. She said the incident left her extremely nervous just days after the deadly incident. While Tobago West MP Joel Sampson believes only legislation can fix the problem, Tobago Hotel and Tourism Association head Reginald McLean suggests a return to police marine patrols could prevent similar tragedies. Political analyst Derek Ramsamouj is urging Prime Minister Kamla Persad-Bissessar to abandon what he calls a Trump-like and egotistical approach to CARICOM, warning that Trinidad and Tobago is no longer the regional powerhouse it once was. Speaking on CNC3's The Morning Brew, Ramsamouj said CARICOM can adjust without this country's funding, cautioning that TNT stands to lose more if tensions with the regional bloc continue to escalate. TNT is challenging the reappointment of CARICOM Secretary General. Trinidad and Tobago is challenging the reappointment of CARICOM Secretary General Dr. Carla Barnett, alleging that the decision was made through a surreptitious and odious process that excluded Port of Spain from deliberations and violated the regional body's treaty and procedural rules. However, Ramsamouj believes the current impasse is about Persad-Bissessar's ego. He's warning that times have changed.
We have this misconception of overestimating our strength. And as you say, we try to punch above our weight. But the reality is you can no longer do that because the other elements of the Caribbean economies are growing at a much stronger rate. Guyana is basically running at about 8% minimum. Suriname is going to quickly catch up to that. So we are no longer the powerhouse.
The president of the Trinidad and Tobago National Nurses Association is warning of further disruption across the country's healthcare system, owing to statements made by NCRHA chairman Dr. Tim Gopi-Singh. Eddie Stewart tells CNC3 News apart from nurses and midwives, Friday's large-scale protest saw 2,000-plus healthcare workers take to the streets of the capital. He says the demonstration highlighted growing frustration across the sector, particularly over the lack of clarity from the government on salary increases. While the TTNNA has attempted to limit disruption by staging protests during lunch hours, Stewart admits the latest action impacted services including surgeries and other critical operations. However, he warns more severe action may be imminent.
Particularly since Dr. Tim Gopi-Singh has been making these spurious allegations, unfounded allegations, and it has really caused multiple groups to create, and they are also planning activities outside of the remit and control of the association. And from what we are hearing, from what we are seeing, is going to cause a lot of disruption in the healthcare system.
Those were your 7 a.m. news headlines. We'll have another news update at 8 a.m. on the TBC Radio Network.
welcome back. This is the part of the show where we take your calls. You know how to get us, 624-8721, 627-8658. Let us know what's on your mind, what's bothering you. Last week when we took some calls, we got some very interesting ones. People had some very interesting situations happening to them in their lives with the TTPS especially. So what's going on with you? Are you one of the workers in the Port of Spain City Corporation a little bit worried about what's going to happen come the end of May or June? We want to hear from you as well. We want to hear from everybody who has something to say. 624-8721 and 627-8658. So this is where we open the forum for you to take your calls here on CNC3. We're going to take a look at the papers in the meantime. In the page 4 of The Guardian, something really interesting that we were looking at amongst ourselves. This is one of those things that really only bothers journalists, but we write about it anyway, that Caribbean Airlines now falls under the ambit of the civil aviation, the Ministry of Transport and Civil Aviation. And it would make sense, right? You would think the airline would go under that ministry. One of the things that happened, and we were looking back at it, is that this was actually done. It was moved on from under the Ministry of under the Ministry of Works and Transport back in 2012. Under former Prime Minister at the time, Kamala Persad-Bissessar. She would have put it under the Ministry of Finance. At the time, I think the reasoning was Cal might have needed a little bit of extra injection of money, and this is where it was done. So now it's back under the Ministry of Transport. Is this how do I put it? Confidence in Zakur or a lack of confidence in Tanku? Well, I leave that to you to decide. We have Arima on the line. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
What is amazing to me is when the channels, the news channels, continue bringing Mr. Gary Griffith as a talking point, as an expert on current affairs, especially with respect to crime. From where I sit, I think all you need to do is to pull up a tape of him speaking 4 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, and then run the same thing, because when he comes, it's the same thing that he keeps mentioning, which is to boost his ego about what he has done when he was there. He has nothing more to contribute except boosting his own ego. And right now, he is singing for his supper, because right now he is supporting Ms. Bissessar and her crime-fighting strategy, although he's saying it is not a crime-fighting strategy. Thank you. I will listen off here.
Yeah, not a problem. We did mention that it seemed to be a very roundabout way of that he was describing. He was criticizing one, but at the same time. We have Santa Cruz on the line. Good morning, Santa Cruz.
Yeah, good morning, Kishon. Good morning to the people of Santa Cruz. I want to make a comment on is Ramsamud's concern, and I think he hit the nail on the head in terms of the Prime Minister approach towards CARICOM, playing the Donald Trump kind of approach. And if he observed carefully, and all of Trinidad could observe carefully, that Donald Trump is what you call a zigzag president. Today he against and tomorrow he for. And the Prime Minister needs to be careful also in terms of the kind of statements she makes towards CARICOM, because when she went to CARICOM as part of the heads of government, rather than actually embrace CARICOM, instead what she did, because Rubio was present, chastised CARICOM for the relationship and support for Venezuela. Today now you're seeing where the Prime Minister look at the Senate delegation to the very Venezuela that she condemned and the very regime that she condemned. She now sending a delegation to deal with the very regime, the Delcy Rodriguez thing. So the kind of double standard that the Prime Minister is using, it doesn't augur well for us And it also doesn't augur well for her as a prime minister, because the rest of the Caribbean now laughing at her because Delcy Rodriguez went to Grenada, spoke to the people of Grenada, and she now saying Venezuela is open for business on the global market because they have plenty resources. Where does Trinidad and Tobago stand in all that? So the prime minister, you need to take Ramsamu's advice and change your approach, because if you continue in that direction, then Trinidad and Tobago will be last. Thank you, Gershon, and thank the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and God bless the people of Santa Cruz. Thank you.
Always love to hear from Santa Cruz, always well-informed. One of these people that we love, a well-informed viewer. Maraval, good morning. Maraval, good morning. All right, we appear to have lost Maraval there. Yeah, so we do really love a well-informed view. I talk to a lot of people, and there's so much information in the palm of your hand with your cell phones, but somehow we seem to be so underinformed about everything. Even if you say you don't like us, you want to watch somebody else, there's so much information there, no excuse. And in this age of fake news, the more news you consume actually is your better ability to figure out what's fake and what's real. Shaguanas, good morning.
Hello?
Yes, Shaguanas, good morning.
Yeah, I just want to congratulate you on your short stint as being the host on this morning show. But I want to criticize your predecessor, Mr. JW.
Must we?
The only problem I have with him is you ask incisive questions of whoever you're questioning or you're interviewing. But I find Mr. JW Williams seems almost apologetic. He tends to want to apologize to whoever it is before he asks a question. So thank you for having that bold manner in which you interview these people. Thank you.
No problem. There are different styles to everything. We learn about this in school. Sometimes you catch more flies with honey. Sometimes you have to be the honey badger quarreling with people. Sangre Grande, good morning. Sangre Grande, good morning. I'm hearing him. Sangre Grande, good morning.
Yes, a pleasant good morning to you, Mr. Kishon, and CNC3 and Trinidad and Tobago. Now, I listened to the Mayor Excellency yesterday, and you heard the word that he called the government. He said they are disingenuous. You see? So they are made out, right? They are made out by everyone. Someone just said the Prime Minister is double standard, right? So because he is saying that, he was saying they told them to take the allocation of funds to pay the outstanding payments that they have for the workers. And now look at what is going on. They may not have any funds by the end of May or so, right? You just said it yourself there and on. So disingenuous, raising taxes on the country. Listen, man, a lady calling out a popular program, an elderly lady, she said, she got a ticket for $10,000. She forgot to pay her insurance, and she said she didn't get no call. She will get a call from the insurance company, right? So I always tell Jason that is dishonest revenue collection, right? So when you have these things going on in the country, right, the mayor couldn't say it better himself. Disingenuous. Mr. Kishan, I thank you very much for allowing me the contribution.
All right, no problem. Final call. Diego Martin, good morning. Oh no, did we lose it? All right, one more time. Diego Martin, good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Kijan Heen.
Good morning.
First, I want to say to Mr. Santa Cruz, you are very selfish you hug the program. I think they better call Mr. Santa Cruz in and be a co-host, because he just go on and on. Oh my God! Anyway, I want to respond to the caller just now who talking about the tickets the lady got. When you have your car insurance, in some insurance company, my insurance company, Coalfire, will send me a letter, but you have to be on top of your insurance is due. I don't check mine's already. It's due this month, but sometimes you might forget. But they send you a letter, so please. No, this thing about, look, anyway, gosh, you'll lose my train of thought. I agree with your first caller who talked about Gary Griffith. Let me tell you something. I want to pick two because of Gary Griffith one day. I said, every time they interview Gary Griffith, he must say, if he don't bring in Dr. Rowley, that is not him. And I say, that morning, that interview went with JW. He never mentioned Dr. Rowley's name. I say, what? I went on a pick two, a quick pick. You know, I won the pick two. Gary Griffith, thank you so much. Oh my God, it was unbelievable. He does only big up himself. Come on, man. Have a blessed morning, Mr. Haynes.
Yeah, okay. These were some of my favorite calls. I'm not gonna lie. This was entertaining. We take a break. We'll be right back.
Magical Expressions Limited is the largest local importer and distributor of fresh cut stems, offering the widest range of beautiful flowers at the most affordable prices. Call us today at 701-6488 or visit our website to order.
Step into ABC Doors and Windows, where quality meets variety. Discover premium wooden, steel panel, fiberglass, and steel security doors alongside aluminum, UPVC, and steel windows designed for strength and durability. At ABC, we're always a better choice, delivering products built to last and service you can rely on. Visit our showroom at 1 Chancotrace, El Socorro South, or call 638-7184 to make your dream home a reality.
The fact that they ask the questions, those challenging questions that no other media house would ask. So, shed light on those things that are in the dark, those stories that no one else wants to cover.
I grew up reading The Guardian, actually. It's a household name.
About The Guardian, one thing that I like, the human interest stories have increased.
See the investigative pieces on the human trafficking. I find that very interesting.
You go more in depth.
On sports, especially local sports, and that's one of my highlights for The Guardian.
Yeah, I read in Guardian since The Guardian started coming out, started working. I was a newspaper man.
The stories that are being covered are well detailed and they get more facts.
Also, I think the editorials, I think they're doing a good job and they're speaking the truth, and they're challenging the government to make things better.
Me in particular, of recently, the last 2-3 months, I've been reading The Guardian. I'm seeing a lot of news about the neighborhoods and the communities, and I even saw my community featured, and I was proud.
The Guardian.
The Guardian?
Guardian.
Trinidad
Guardian.
The Guardian.
The Guardian.
Trinidad Guardian. The Guardian is my first choice.
All right, 7:19 here in Trinidad and Tobago, and as you can expect, Gary Griffith to maybe talk about himself or message me because you guys are talking about him. We can expect Karen Rose on a Tuesday to talk to us about the latest happenings in the business world. Karen, good morning. How are you going over there in Thailand?
I am good, Kijan. I am good. Always good to have you on a nice morning, man. You got to do this more often.
It needs to be called the afternoon brew. Change that. You have me every time. Afternoon brew. But the 1 o'clock in the morning, Brew, we'll do that one.
Yeah.
So, all right, let's get straight into it. So what we were talking about, we are talking about businesses that seem to suck up Forex as opposed to create Forex for the country. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so now it's a very timely topic, because I think the biggest problem that we have to have is we have to change the mindset on what types of businesses are even possible for us to create. Now, we know that the country is going under financial strain. We are seeing mass layoffs. We are seeing business closures. Anybody who feels like they're not able to make enough money at work, what does everybody tend to do? We tend to start side businesses, or we tend to look at starting a business, right? And we're seeing more people coming out with wellness businesses. We're seeing people starting businesses within food. We do buy and sell. We're getting into fashion. We know people starting businesses. The problem is we are under a Forex challenge right now. And even though people need to earn more money, the types of businesses that we create matter, because we are focusing more on creating businesses that are dependent on the same small pool of foreign exchange that we are all fighting for right now. So now you build this business that is completely dependent on the availability of foreign exchange, and simultaneously we are draining the system even further, putting more strain on the system, and we are seeing every bank every other month announcing the reductions in foreign exchange allocation to the credit cards, and then we get our business owners online complaining that there's no foreign exchange to be able to tap into. But this all starts with, if we are creating businesses that rely on foreign inputs, so even though we're buying local, because we love to say, buy local, it sounds good, but buying local businesses still have to import. Yeah. So the more local businesses that we start, if we are continuing to import and we have to depend on foreign exchange availability, we are hurting ourselves in the process. This is a huge problem moving forward.
I had a former boss who used to say, we have no businessmen in this country, we have buyers and resellers. And I tend to agree with him there. A lot of you find that you're just buying something from somewhere else and then marking up the price and then selling it back to us. So what are some examples of businesses that would create that foreign exchange that you're talking about?
So let me start with, what is the mindset shift that has to happen, right? Anybody that's looking to start a business today, the first biggest thing is this business going to be dependent on foreign exchange? And two, is this business going to be able to generate foreign exchange? Anytime you can sell a product or a service to anybody outside of Trinidad and Tobago, you are going to generate foreign exchange. Now, where you park that foreign exchange, a completely different conversation. You could bring it into Trinidad. You could have bank accounts in other Caribbean islands so you could access the money. Completely up to you and how you want to set your thing up. But you're generating foreign exchange. So somebody doing something as simple as this, they could have learned how to create graphics and become a graphic designer, and they're using something as simple as Canva, and they could now either get a job working for somebody outside of Trinidad and hired as a graphic designer, or they have clients that they are serving as a graphic designer. That's a basic. As long as you are providing a product or a service to anybody outside of TNT in whatever fashion it is, you are going to be now a net earner of foreign exchange. And that is a completely different conversation, because now if you are generating your own foreign exchange, you are getting paid more money because you're getting paid in a higher currency than what local businesses are going to pay you. But then now you're not dependent on having to convert your TT dollars into USD or another currency, which is what everybody is struggling with now that, they built this business, they have money coming in, but they have to go and buy their foreign inputs, and we can't convert our TT dollars to USD. We're trying to avoid that trap.
What this really sounds like is you have to make your product palatable to other places, but more than that, I feel like there's a lot up here that we need to start selling. Our consultants, we have brilliant minds who may be not as like maybe as somebody like a Gary Griffith. Lots of thoughts. Maybe he should be selling that brain and those ideas for foreign exchange. I mean, it just seems as though we have to think outside of the box and not, again, buy and resell services using Fiverr or whatever you're using to put your skills out there to get it sold. That's what I'm understanding from what you're saying.
Absolutely, because listen, you could even be an accountant and provide accounting services to people outside of TNT. That is a service that you are providing where you're going to get paid in a higher currency. What I think more and more people need to do, right? Now, we don't need everybody trying to, build a business or get remote jobs, whatever the case is, but we need to have a sizable shift in this process if we want to have any kind of dent and see some returns on this. What the average person needs to do now is they need to take a couple of minutes, jump onto your favorite LLM. You could use any one of the free versions of ChatGPT, Gemini, or DeepSeek, or any one of them, and ask inside the LLMs, you know what? I am looking to change careers. I want to get a job that is more globally fit for today's market. I want you to interview me so that we can figure out where my skill sets are best utilized, right? And from there, you could identify what new jobs are coming out and what new skill sets you're going to need in order to obtain these jobs. Because even though we might feel like there is a shortage of jobs in Trinidad and Tobago or a shortage of good paying jobs, there is not a shortage of jobs in the world. And more of our people are learning how to get remote jobs. So again, you're not building a business, but even if you're getting a job working for a company abroad, and you can do that as an accountant, you can do that if you're a lawyer. There's lawyers I'm working with right now, and they are finding legal jobs in Australia, in the Philippines, in Latin America, and these jobs are paying in excess of $5,000 US. These jobs exist, and you have these specializations and skill sets, but we need to just shift our frame of thinking with not just limiting ourselves to jobs or clients or providing services or products locally. We need to change our mindset to start looking at who can I provide a service or sell a product to globally, because that's the shift that's going to help us, especially as a small island developing economy.
Hold on, yeah. I am looking to switch. Hold on, I'm typing as you think. I put it in chat at one time. Journalism does not pay. What here? Skill. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Kijan, right? As I'm in Asia now, I'm exposed to a lot more opportunities that I would have never have seen when I was living in the West. And I am seeing jobs for copywriters that are paying, that are asynchronous jobs, meaning there is no time, you're not punching the clock. Everything is output driven. You have your tasks, you have your deadlines, and copywriting jobs that are looking for journalists and paying upwards of $2,500 US a month. Now imagine if you have to produce just one article per day, and you might have to do 5 for the week, Kijan, and you're getting a minimum of $2,500 US, and you don't have to punch the clock, meaning you're free to still do other jobs or do other things. Go on. All right, bye everybody.
But that's where we are going, and that's the mindset shift.
I think that's the problem. We still in this mindset of I went to work, I went to UE, I want a government job, I want to stay there for my 33 and a third, and then retire. We need to start thinking a little creatively and use your noggin. Use your noggin.
Yeah, what we have done is we have placed all of our eggs in the basket on the government to solve the foreign exchange problem, right? Not realizing that in all of the countries around the world, the biggest earners of foreign exchange are not the government. It is entrepreneurs. It is the Metas. It is the Amazons. It is the companies. These companies are creating products and services, and the focus is not just to limit it to the small city that they're based in. The goal is always, how do I create a product or service that can scale? And because of technology and what is available today, that is where the majority of the world has gone. We need to get on that train, because the foreign exchange problem is not going to go away. And if we are waiting for oil and gas, well, then we're always going to be waiting for oil and gas. Even when 2027 comes and we get some inflows coming in, at what point are we not going to have this exact same conversation 10, 20 years from now?
It's still a finite resource. We keep talking about wanting to get a bigger piece of the pie and not making the pie bigger.
Correct.
Karen Rose, thank you.
This is where we can truly build. So start thinking about how can I trade my service or products outside of Trinidad? And that's how we're going to close the gap on the foreign exchange and open access more opportunities.
Karen Rose, thank you very much. Always love these conversations, something to think about and question why I wake up and do this every morning sometimes.
we got to talk, Tijan. We got to talk.
Listen to me. Text me. I have my number. Karen Rose, thank you very much. Trinidad and Tobago, we continue the show. It's just about 7:30. Coming up next, we have more talks about cancer, conversations on cancer, as we do every Tuesday. Stay with us.
Struggling with blood sugar swings, high blood pressure, or stiff joints? Take control with Aja Nutrition's powerful wellness trio. Berberine Plus supports healthy blood sugar. Blood pressure support helps keep your pressure in check. And Joint Aid keeps your joints moving so you can stay active every day. Don't wait. Choose Aja Nutrition for trusted, effective solutions. Available at Pennywise and leading pharmacies nationwide. Feel better, move better, live better with Aja Nutrition.
Every day at the castle, long before we open our doors, our work begins. Our famous seasonings are mixed in advance. We select our fresh chicken parts and prep our delicious sides. Then we fire up the fryers and rotisserie oven. Everything is made with tasty local herbs, spices, and the same long-loved recipe since 1968. So, when you come in, remember that we uphold our culture and our taste. Just for you. We are your Royal Castle.
Name something people stick their noses into.
I'm going to say, into the oven.
This game is going to hell. Stick your nose in the oven.
My own personal motto is to show citizens of this country that our stories can be told in a professional and international standard. I want to show them that the journalism they consume on cable TV can also exist here. Each day, that's my focus, that's my drive, to show the stories of our communities, of our people, matter just as much as anywhere else in the world. That's why we are where you are.
We've been having a lot of fun on the show, but we do need to have some serious conversations, and this is what we talk about today, conversations on cancer. And today we are talking, and we did touch on it last week, but we're talking on testicular cancer with Dr. Fidel Rampazad. He's a consultant vascular and interventional radiologist. And we did, if we're talking about if there's any good in any kind of cancer, what you were saying last week is that this is the most treatable. Testicular cancer is one of the more treatable forms of cancer.
Yeah, for having us here. So if they detected early, we're looking at a cure rate of over 95%. So rather than screening for testicular cancer, if the public is aware that to pick up the signs and present early to their doctor, they can have a greater 95% cure rate. So it's an excellent result.
And this happens with or without removing one of the testicles?
Usually it involves removing one of the testicles. So it's a tumor that grows in the testicles, and we have males have two testicles, and usually it would involve removing that testicle. You would have to do an ultrasound to see how big it is, if it's one side or two sides, because very occasionally testicular cancers can affect both testes. And if it's confined to one testis, it usually involves removing the entire testis and surveillance of the other testes, because once they have a risk have a history of testicular cancer, there's a risk of developing testicular cancer in the other remainder of the testis. And what is usually required as well is, for all cancer surgeries, you try to get the area close to the primary tumor so that you can look for lymph nodes and see if they're positive or not. So some cancers you can just remove parts of the organ, but in this case, the recommendations are remove the whole testicle.
But let's do with the argument. I'm a man, and my testicles are what make me a man. How do you, when your patients may come to you with that sort of speech, how do you respond to them?
So the testes do generate the bulk of the testosterone, which is the male hormone. But remember, you have two. You have a spare, right? So the other testes can, in fact, take up the slack then and create enough testosterone so that you don't lose any of these functions. Some people will say, well, without one testicle, your chances of having a successful pregnancy with getting a woman pregnant will be reduced. It's not so. Your other testes can take up that slack. If you feel that the partner will notice a defect in the scrotum, that is not so, because you could even put a little prosthetic in, so like a little oval-shaped structure that feels just like a testis into the scrotum, so that nobody is aware that you had a testis removed. So you can have testicular cancer, you catch it early, you can have the testis removed and function normally after.
I know you said
less of a man.
This month is Testicular Cancer Awareness Month, and we were talking about, it seems to be one of the less popular. We even got a color that teal, I think it was what we decided on. And I guess maybe that's one of the reasons why you're back. We do really need this sort of awareness that's happening. What do you think can be done just to raise that awareness in terms of testicular cancer for people and young people, if I remember correctly?
Yeah, so guys need to get to know their bodies. So what they should do is maybe at least once a month, examine the testes with a purpose to actually feel them, see if you find that they're both equal in size and texture. Usually the left side hangs a little bit lower, or sometimes in some people the right. Observe it, feel it, gently palpate it and see if it's tender. You know, you're not going to squeeze it up hard or anything like that. You just want to feel for the presence of a lump, see if one is getting larger. And just on the side of the testes, you have these things called the epididymes, which help in storage and transport of sperm. And you feel them and see if you notice a swelling or any tenderness or pain or a dull ache in the abdomen or just above in the groin area, you're noticing any lumps. Well, then you need to get to your doctor, your general practitioner. They will examine you and send you either to a specialist urologist or send you for a test to confirm whether there's something there or not. And the majority of time, so I know this is where the anxiety will build up, the majority of times, however, it's something benign, not cancerous. So the most common abnormalities you might get is an infection in the area. So for example, you'll get pain and swelling. You can get a fluid buildup, that's called a hydrocele, where some fluid builds up around the testicle. You can get a hernia going down there. So those are the common things that we find in that area. We do occasionally find testicular cancer, and as you rightfully mentioned, it presents in a younger age group. So in other words, you have to be aware of your body. You have to see if something new develops, and if something new develops, you don't mind it, as we say, or be afraid, such that you don't want to seek medical attention, because as we started off, if it's picked up early, then you have a 95% survival. And picking up early means that the cancer is confined to the testis. The longer you wait, the higher the chance that it could spread outside of the testicle, and that's when the treatment becomes a little bit more complex and less successful.
You've been in this for a while, I'm sure, and you may come across some really interesting myths in how this may be picked up. Maybe somebody might come and say, boy, I get hit in playing football or something like that. What are some of the things that people come to you with that you have to dispel, the notions that you have to dispel in your line of work?
Well, that's exactly it. Always, even when I do a fair bit of ultrasound examinations, and I always try to show the patient on the screen, turn the monitor that way and point it and show them exactly the abnormalities we're talking about. And you see, obviously, it's a traumatic thing to hear that you might have cancer. All I can say is something looks a certain way. So, there's this abnormality in the testis, and it looks a bit abnormal. I'm going to put it on the report, and when you get the report, you have to discuss with your doctor, and they may send you for a urologist, and you may have to do some procedure or something like that. That's what I usually say. And then there's like, doc, how did I get that? And is it because of an injury I got, or as I said, playing football? So I got a lot of these things in the past, and people usually say and dismiss their symptoms because of some injury. So, for example, for breast cancer as well, women would usually say, oh, well, I was playing with a grandkid and I got a lash there, and they left it for a few months, rather than coming earlier to present. So, I think the key here is whether you get an injury or not. If it's not going away, the pain or the discomfort or the swelling is not going away after a few days, maybe. I'm not saying every time you get an injury and you get some discomfort, you come to the doctor, but if you treat conservatively, you take a little painkiller, anti-inflammatory, you put some ice, you rest if it's a different part of the body, and the pain is not going away, or the swelling or the lump is not going away, well, then you have to come and get it checked out. And 9 out of 10 times, if it's acute and it now develops, it might be due to the trauma, but it's better to be safe and sorry and pick it up early.
Yeah. Sorry, excuse me. As men, we like to just think that we could sleep it off or walk it off with two painkillers and think we're good after that. So I think that's really important. Is there a special doctor that people should go to, or should they just, your usual primary care physician should be able to at least give you that first diagnosis before you go to the specialist?
Yeah, so there are different ways to approach it in Trinidad. In some jurisdictions, it's to assess the care of a specialist is very difficult, right? So, for example, in the hospital, you can't just go up and say a specialist. It's only because the specialist is so highly skilled, and their demand in a particular area is very high, so they may not be able to see everyone. So it's a good way to triage, as we say, to go to the general practitioner first, and then they will assess you and say, well, okay, this is not really nothing to worry about. Let's monitor you. Or they might send you for the ultrasound. And when you go back and see them with the ultrasound, they might say, okay, well, there's a testicular lump there. By right, they are the ones, they're not specialists in that field, right? So usually what happens is that they would refer you to a specialist. So they would have built up communication and relationships with certain doctors who they're comfortable sending their patients to, because they know they have good results, so they work with them in the past, etc. And then they direct the patient. The doctor who tends to manage testicular cancers is some category of doctors called urologists. So urologists, so they deal with problems of that nature. And then they now will see you and assess you and examine you, look at the reports, what you have, look at the ultrasound, take a history, that sort of thing, and then decide if you need any more tests. So some may say, well, let's say, for example, there is a testicular lump that is suspicious. So remember, nobody knows as yet whether it's cancer or not, right? So they might say, well, you know what, I think we should maybe repeat the ultrasound at a more with a specialist radiologist who could confirm that this is real, or let's send you for an MRI of the scrotum, which can define it up a little bit better, or let's send you for a CT scan to see if there's any spread anywhere else in the body, do some blood tests and all of that, because some of these testicular tumors secrete certain chemicals that can be detected in the bloodstream. So all of this is building a profile to stage the disease and to see if you're fit for any further treatment. Usually they have their protocols, but sometimes in complex cases they discuss with what they call a multidisciplinary team, where they talk to various doctors. Like in the hospital setting, they will have a meeting with the urologists, radiologists, oncologists, etc., and they will all come up with a plan. So, for example, if this thing is confined to testes, there's no spread anywhere, the lymph nodes are clear, we just do the simple surgery. If it's spread to other areas, they'll have to do chemotherapy before that sort of thing.
Dr. Rampersad, thank you so very much. We realize that there are so many experts out there, so don't just bash the healthcare system before you try it out first, and they are always looking out for the best. Dr. Rampersad, thank you very much. We have one more segment. We're coming down to the end of the show. It's just about 7:45. Stay with us.
Looking for a smart way to grow your savings? For just a limited time, the Trinidad and Tobago Police Credit Union is offering competitive fixed deposit rates of up to 4%. That's up to 4% guaranteed when you invest with PCU Fixed Deposit. Visit any of our locations in Barataria, Arima, San Fernando, or Tobago to get started today. For more details, visit policecreditunion.com or call us at 6124-PCU. PCU, your future is safe with us.
You're still alive. Mr. Alejandro! Mrs. Lucia! Mrs. Lucia, come quick, Mr.
Alejandro! My goodness! You're so... Sophia!
Don't miss the gripping drama Cabo. Sundays at 8 p.m. only on CNC3.
Some of us like to test limits, but there won't always be second chances. Obey the speed limits. Maybe you don't value your life, but others value theirs. A message from the TTPS.
About love traded for protection. Now hear about beauty dressed as betrayal. Maria. Maria. Long before she died, death had already lured the way to her doorstep. Maria's mother was found one morning, cold, clean, almost untouched, a mystery still unsolved. The nearby East Indian village whisper about it, but only whisper amongst themselves. Grief the strange thing to a grown man. It makes them rush, it makes them blind. From that nearby village came a beautiful Indian girl.
All right, so if you were looking at that, what you were looking at is what we are here to talk about now. It's 7:49, and we're talking about A Deal with Darkness. It's Trinidad folklore coming to life in a dark musical thriller. To talk more about it, we have Anne-Marie Gopal. She's an actress, and is that your only role in this? I feel like you have more. You strike me as I do a lot more than just act.
I do a lot more than act, yes, I do. But this is my first time. It's not my first time in a production. I did this when I was a teenager. But it's my first time working with our director, Paul. So yes, it's my first time being on the stage as an older person.
That's not older doesn't necessarily mean old.
Older does not mean old, no. But no, I wear many hats. I am an entrepreneur. And I'm also a UN ambassador. This is just fun for me.
Fun is important.
And I am absolutely having fun, and I think that is important. At this stage in my life, I think when you've worked really hard, you must have fun. And people have fun in different ways, and we can't judge people how they have fun. I am not I'm not a drinker and a limer, so. Party person.
And we are talking about fun. If you want to have fun and you want to be part of this show, it's on Saturday night, the 18th of April at 7 p.m. at the Naparima Bowl. And we have 2 tickets here. I'm told that if you call, you can get in. So we'll give you more information on that.
It's on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. These are the complimentaries for Saturday night.
So it's 3 nights, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all at 7 p.m.?
On Friday, it's at 7 p.m. On Saturday at 7 p.m. On Sunday at 5 p.m. We also have school shows.
That's important.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we have on Thursday and Friday, we have 2 shows for secondary schools.
And what's the show about? Now, the ticket says Trinidad folklore comes to life in a dark musical thriller.
I would not really say dark. I mean, it's called A Deal with Darkness, but really the synopsis is it's really 2 beautiful love stories in there. And we know Trinidad folklore is something like, I was speaking to someone recently, and this person is well in their 60s, and I'm talking about the play, and the person says to me, "What is folklore?" And I said, "Have you?" Yes, and yes, that was my reaction,
yes.
My exact reaction, right? So then I said, "Do you know about the larger bless?" Yes. "Do you know about Maria, the highway ghost?" Yes. I said, "Well, that is folklore."
Oh, so maybe just the term folklore.
Folklore, yes.
No, right. Okay, fair.
But we are telling 2 stories. One is the larger bless, the backstory of that, how she became, and we are now creating, well, not me, the director is now creating a story behind what we would have known, just these mythical creatures, if that's what you call them. We hear about the Dwen and the Lagahoo and all of these mystical creatures. We are now creating a story behind. So it's a love story where the first story is Celia falls in love with Jean-Paul, who is the son of a French, the young French master. And of course it's forbidden. He dies. Well, he's murdered. They were going to run away, and he was murdered, and she is now seeking revenge. So she makes a deal with darkness. That is how she becomes the larger bless.
That's kind of cool. So it's what we call in, like for comic book nerds like me, an origin story, or retcon, where you create a new backstory.
That is what now we are doing with folklore.
Yeah. So just to propel the story forward, you create a new backstory.
Because we always hear about the larger bless, but who is the larger bless? Yes. How did she become the larger bless? So we are giving, if to say, the younger generation, it might probably be what they might be telling their children. Dwayne, this might become the story of the future of the larger blast, because we don't know the origin of the larger blast, really. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't think
anybody.
These are stories that are passed down from generation to generation, and you know how hard it is if you talk from this one to this one, how the story changes.
Well, we don't really know.
And
so the other story is the highway ghost, Maria. I don't know if you know about that one.
Yeah, this guy crawled up on it the other day. And
yes, and so
but I've been hearing about that since I'm a child as well.
So do you know the backstory of that?
I've heard multiple versions. It's the daughter died and the father was grieving.
That's from what we understand, and this is what we are also portraying. Maria fell in love with an indentured laborer. And of course, it was a forbidden love. Her stepmother, and this is our version, her stepmother was very jealous of her, knew of the relationship, and encouraged her to warn Arjun, that's the guy's name, to warn Arjun, knowing that if she go out into the dark, she would be in danger. And she was bitten. Now, that's the story that we would be hearing, but our story is that Shanti, again, dabbled in darkness and turned into a serpent and bit Maria, but she was not able to revert.
The drama.
So
and it's the drama set to music, I'm understanding.
We have two lovely young ladies who.
All right, so before we run out of time, we do. If you want 2 tickets, you can call. I'm not going to test your knowledge on folklore or anything. But if you call and we get the call,
that might be fun.
It would be.
Yes.
But you are out here changing the backstory of all these things.
But they can tell us something we may probably use for another story.
Sure. But so you have the numbers up on the screen. So give us a call if you want to come, and we'll organize how you can get these tickets. So sorry, you were saying.
And there's what we just saw, Morgan, who is the village Obia man. That clip that we just saw, and all of these things. Sorry.
It's fine. It's been happening all morning.
Yes, it's the Sahara dust, and I was wondering if I'd be able to make the interview.
You're fine. You want to take a second? It's fine. All right, so we'll go into this. So the Ministry of Education is allowing the local folklore. This is happening on the 16th of April. So if you do want that, you can get students admission, $60, accompanying the teachers. It's free. Wait, so the students have to pay, but the teachers are free? I love that for them.
Yeah, of course.
I love that for them.
Yes.
More love for teachers in this world. And the adult tickets are $150 each. We do have a caller. Somebody wants to come to your show. Good morning, caller.
Hi, morning.
Good morning. Anne-Marie, you want to test their knowledge?
Oh. I want to save my voice.
Well, I'll just ask you, who is your favorite folklore character and why?
I think the Dwayne. I like the Dwayne because we have heard so many stories about him over the years. And, I always remember those stories from when I was younger.
The Dwayne is the...
But I don't know the story of the Dwayne. Can you enlighten us?
Well, the Dwayne, the ones with the back to foot feet.
But how did they become...
Who were young children who were not christened before they died and stuff like that,
Yes.
All right. And we got your name?
It's George.
Say that again?
George.
All right. So we're going to take your information off the air. Congratulations. So you get 2 free tickets to the show. Is there anybody else in the show who's particularly, is this a young cast? We're talking never before or established people like the...
yes, we have the girl who is playing, who's portraying Celia, the larger bless. She has been on stage before. She's not new at all. Maria, the young lady who is portraying Maria, she's also, they are young, but they've been in theater for a while. All the others, I think, have they been on stage before? Like I said, this is new to me now at this point in my life. I've been on stage when I was like a teenager.
Would you all at some point?
A long, long time ago. Yes. So we have 2 young men and they are just out of, they are in school, as a matter of fact, and they're the two youngest and newest members of the cast.
In stage terms, I think they're playing us off. So,
yes.
Marie, thank you very much. Trinidad and Tobago, thank you for having me on the show. Jason is back from tomorrow, so this was a nice week-long stint that I had with you. I go back to napping during this regular time. Trinidad and Tobago, thanks very much, and thank you so much for being part of it. On behalf of everybody here at TMB, have a good day.